Welcome back to Once in a Generation, the series where this year we've been counting down the top 50 games of the console generation that's coming to a close. We're right on the cusp of next gen, so today we're going to count down the top 20 to 11 games released on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, Wii U, PlayStation Vita, and Nintendo 3DS. With that being said, let's get right into it.
The hero knows he cannot defeat danger, but for a moment, he can free others from fear.
Batman Arkham Knight is a worthy swan song of the Arkham series. Arkham Knight does everything a sequel should do, build upon its predecessors where needed, and double down on what's already great. Admittedly, after Arkham City, there wasn't much to fix, but Arkham Knight proved that there was still some room for improvement. This time around, the majority of Gotham City is at your disposal, and getting around is more fun than ever. Gliding with Batman's cape is faster and more precise, and while the Batmobile holds a little too much of the game's focus, it's still a great addition that makes you feel even more like the Dark Knight. The game's story is mostly predictable, but it's the incredible cast consisting of Jonathan Banks, Troy Baker, and, of course, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill that really sells the action on screen. The absolutely perfect free-flow combat system is even more refined than Arkham City's combat. New enemy types add a unique level of complexity with each encounter, and fighting feels even better this time around thanks to some tighter controls. Batman Arkham Knight is an excellent finale to one of the greatest gaming series of the past decade.
While what I might praise Death Stranding for is nothing new for Kojima and fans of his, it really made the game stand by itself from a person new to Kojima like myself. The future dystopian story of an America divided, being held together by a network, and also being connected by one Sam Bridges instantly hooked me and kept me staying with the story until the conclusion. Everything that went into the world of Death Stranding, from the characters, terms, and concepts, completely sold me as I started to play more and more. Timefall, Cupids, BTs, BB, to me it was some of the best sci-fi I've ever experienced, let alone in a video game. The cast in the game is incredible, from Die Hard Man, Cliff, Fragile, Mama, Deadman, Hartman, and more, that really made the game feel truly alive in a lot of different ways. Tommy Jenkins, who plays Die Hard Man in Death Stranding, has one of the best acting cutscenes I have ever seen in my entire life in the game. Coupled with the game's insane ensemble cast and enticing world, the game's gameplay is truly the most unique of this generation. There really isn't anything like it on the market, and I found the process of using my equipment to get from point A to point B to be super relaxing and mimic a puzzle game experience. Death Stranding wasn't everyone's cup of tea, but for me personally, to this day, I still see rain sometimes in real life and think Timefall, and that says something to the uniqueness of Death Stranding. Life is Strange by Dontnod is one of my favorite narratives of all time, let alone this generation. It follows a story about Max Caulfield and Chloe Price that houses its context in modern day high school. The tropes are there as you'd expect, but this game takes so many great turns and twists from episode to episode with its episodic release, similar to a Telltale game. Its art style looks almost hand-drawn at times, making the game look truly stunning on high-end consoles and hardware. The game definitely doesn't play out like a traditional story about teenagers finding their way in the world. Supernatural powers, different realities, and disguised killers start to bleed into the life of Chloe and Max throughout Life is Strange that are worth not knowing before going in. On top of all of that, the game's soundtrack, while being a copyright claim buffet for content creators, is one of the best soundtracks this generation, featuring a ton of music I personally had never heard of before and added to my playlist. If you want an episodic story that will really take you on a ride throughout the on average 10-hour play experience, Life is Strange is a no-brainer. Celeste is a game that fundamentally changed how I viewed anxiety and mental adversity. I grew up in a Hispanic household where terms like anxiety and depression really weren't defined, and maybe that was just my particular household, but I know many other Hispanics from my personal life share that same sentiment. Celeste gave me a lot of context on these issues people deal with, and made me discover a lot about myself in a few different ways. And it does this through a fun, tightly controlled action 2D platformer that is challenging but fair from level to to level. When you die, you get sent back almost immediately to the very left side of your screen, so you're never set back too far from where you died. The game also has a ton of beneficial accessibility models like a no-kill mode if you just want to get through the game's emotional story. The game's commentary on self-doubt, the side of yourself you don't like to admit, and other aspects that I feel no other game has touched on in a truly meaningful way. Celeste does this, and it's a game I'll always hold dear to me and carry with me throughout my life. Extremely OK Games hit it out of the park in more than one way with Celeste, accompanying the game with a soundtrack that is amongst my favorites in any video game. I could legit talk about Celeste for hours, but I'd much rather you finish the video and really consider playing Celeste if you haven't. It's truly a one-of-a-kind game.
After a generation of countless battle royales, Apex Legends stands out as the best in the genre. It certainly doesn't reinvent the wheel in terms of the game's objectives: land, loot, fight, and remain in the circle. Apex introduced revolutionary mechanics that changed the game for shooters. Its ping system is so influential that games like Call of Duty and Fortnite integrated similar mechanics into their battle royales. Its near-perfect shooting mixed with the Overwatch-like hero abilities of each character is a match made in heaven. Each legend has a unique skill set that can change the course of any given battle. Usually with hero shooters, there's always one or two that are cast aside from the rest of the pack. While they're not perfect, all the legends provide players with distinct options depending on their preferred playstyle. Apex Legends nails it on all fronts: tight shooting, fun legends, and fresh mechanics. With constant updates from developer Respawn Entertainment, the future remains promising for the best battle royale to date.
Stay back, sir! I've got this!
Capcom underwent a major success story this generation, and without a doubt that success culminated in the year 2019. Released just before the return of Devil May Cry, Resident Evil 2 Remake proved that the success of Capcom on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One was not a fluke. Resident Evil 2 set a new bar for remakes, taking the classic story of a zombie outbreak in a densely populated city from the perspective of Leon, a rookie cop, and Claire, a drifter searching for her brother, and making it all work together in a modern package. Not only is the story thrilling and terrifying, full of excellent moments, and visuals are stunning, but the depth of the gameplay offers immense replayability to try and perfect the way you survive Raccoon City.
Guardian? Eyes up, Guardian.
Destiny stands as the dawn of an entire new genre of games that was introduced this generation, the game as a service. While Bungie's Halo follow-up had a rocky start and has seen some low points, the road they paved for Destiny since launch has continued to get better and better. Offering a rich world with excellent gunplay, challenging high-level content, experimenting with synchronous global events, and a growing nostalgia since 2014, Destiny is a game, a community, service, and an unrivaled experience that's worth the investment. Whether you're there for the story, hunting down bounties in the overworld, taking on the best of the player base in Crucible PvP, or running raids, Destiny has something to make every Guardian's time unique and legendary. Turn-based RPGs have traditionally held a negative connotation for players unfamiliar with the genre. Persona 5 hit the industry hard, dripping with style, charm, fluidity, and incredibly smooth UI. If you don't like this turn-based combat, odds are it will never click. Following the story of the Phantom Thieves, a group of rebellious teens that wish to tear down the hierarchy of corrupt power and abuse of said power in Japan, Persona 5 spins a 100+ hour narrative full of drama, love, twists, and it's all wrapped up in a package you won't want to put down. Having recently released Persona 5 Royal, the definitive edition of that story with an even more streamlined campaign, new content, and gameplay mechanics to experiment with, Persona 5 is one of the definitive JRPGs to release this generation. Titanfall 2 is the greatest first-person shooter campaign of our time. After a lackluster first release, Respawn dove into the lore of Titanfall's world with Titanfall 2, framing the galactic journey in a buddy cop format, following the adventure of a would-be hero, pilot Jack Cooper, and his hand-me-down Titan, BT-7274. Titanfall 2's campaign is a non-stop creative campaign, full of platforming, puzzles, time manipulation, and bombastic robot versus robot fights. In a world swamped with semi-futuristic editions of major franchises, Titanfall 2 goes against the norm by outshining its competitors in every way. The sheer creativity at force in the level design of this game cannot be rivaled. Finding success in Apex Legends, it's difficult to say when a Titanfall 3 could hit, but it's safe to say we're awaiting it. eagerly.
Marvel's Spider-Man is quite possibly the best Spider-Man video game ever made. Insomniac Games' take on the webhead merges a fun story with excellent controls. Overall, the story doesn't take too many risks, but it's still a blast to experience. Plenty of Spidey's rogues are utilized to great effect, and the introduction of Miles Morales is a welcome starting point for a character that has a lot of potential to grow. What's especially noteworthy about Marvel's Spider-Man is its fantastic combat system. It's similar to the Arkham formula, but Spider-Man's gadgets and powers add a level of fluidity that makes sense for the character. You'll fight countless goons throughout the game, but each encounter is just as fun as the last. Insomniac expertly captures our nostalgia for the Spider-Man 2 game, released on PS2 and Xbox, with a sprawling New York City with plenty of side objectives to pay attention to. And making your way to the objective is just as fun as the task at hand. Swinging your way through New York is so enjoyable that I rarely ever use the fast travel function. With a heartfelt, albeit safe, story and near-perfect gameplay, Marvel's Spider-Man is the quintessential Spider-Man video game.
Another installment of Once in a Generation has come to a close. We hope you enjoyed, and if you're new to the video and had a good time with it, be sure to like and subscribe to JoyClicks so you don't miss our future lists, like the middle of October where we run through the top 10 best characters of this generation, and the end of October where we complete our top 50 games, counting down the 10 to number 1 best games this generation. If you would like to support JoyClicks, consider going to patreon.com/JoyClicks, where you can support us at a number of tiers, including $1, $2, and $5, getting you early access, influence in the shows, and producer credit respectively. But until then, we hope you're excited on the road to next gen, we hope you got your pre-orders in, and we'll see you next time.